Welcome back to Online Darts, everyone. The build up to the William Hill World Darts Championships. We've got Chris Murphy with us. Chris, it's on the horizon now. Are you excited?
Yeah, I saw the PDC Ali Pally job video go out, and that starts to sort of get the juices flowing every year when something like that comes out. So yeah, December. It's not about Christmas. It's all about the darts.
Mind you, controversially, not a fan. I preferred the Christmas themed. Don't get me wrong, it was produced brilliantly by the guys, but. Yeah. I like the Christmas ones that they did, Banksy on the trampoline and everything like that. But yeah, no, it's good. You've obviously followed the tour all year, working on comms. Gezi Price, favourite with the bookies. But have we just seen a few frailties over the last few weeks that maybe he's not the same dominant force he was last year going into this?
Yeah, but I think when we've seen the frailties from Gezi, it's when he's kind of not been quite up for it as much as he normally is. And I don't think there's any doubt they'll be up for it at the World Championship with the crowd. It's the biggest pantomime crowd in darts, so they're going to be on his back, Ali Pally. There's no doubt about that. And I think he'll want to prove something by winning it in front of fans, particularly in front of what could be at times a hostile crowd for him. So yeah, maybe some frailties at times this year, but I don't think we'll see any of that at the World Championship, and I think he's the right favourite.
It's hard to look past the Fab Four, as they're being called. They have been the best four players across the year, stroke recently, Gezi, Michael, Peter and Jonny. Do you see anyone outside those four picking the Sid Waddell Trophy up?
No, in a word. If you ask me about any other tournament, yeah, there are loads of runners and riders, but I just can't see past those four players this year. I even think, and it hurt me for saying this, but I even think it might even be a stretch too far for Jonny Clayton. Despite how well he's been playing, it's just a completely different beast, the World Championship. I think you're looking at Michael van Gerwen, Peter Wright and Gerwin Price, the world's top three, as the main contenders that have been there, done it, and I think that'll have a big bearing on the outcome of the tournament.
We obviously know Michael very well, and I've said this on our show. Right now, I think set play may suit him more because his standard is obviously risen from what it was last year when he wasn't quite at the races. I think he openly admits that. But set play, he's not going to get punished as much for those off legs that he has. He may only lose a set or a couple of legs in that set, but still have time to turn it around. Do you agree that the set format might suit him better at the moment?
Definitely. I think the danger for him is pre-quarterfinals, perhaps, shorter format set play. But I think you're right. I think set play, longer format in particular, will really suit him. I felt a little bit like that last year, and then he got beat 5-0 in the quarterfinals.
However, that was a special performance to beat him. It took something that good to beat him.
Still. It really was, and he's playing better now than he was that time last year as well. So yeah, I don't see why Michael van Gerwen can't or won't be at the deep end of this tournament.
No, I agree. I fancy him to do damage just because of that. The off legs, you don't get punished as much. Peter Wright's an interesting one. Players' Championship, spat with Adrian Lewis, shall we say. This is the first time I've ever seen Peter physically booed by a crowd. Not pantomime boos, genuine boos towards Peter Wright. And we saw when he was picking up the trophy against Ryan Searle, for me, didn't look completely comfortable with the situation. The fact that he was being booed for a change.
Yeah, what he said and how he seemed have been very different things.
Completely.
In both instances, actually, after the match with Adrian Lewis, when he was clearly riled by what had gone on and then didn't want to talk about it. And then after the finals, you said, against Ryan Searle, he kind of went, oh, they boo because they want the game to go on and things like that. He went 11-10, Peter. So yeah, I think that I don't see that carrying through to Ali Pally, actually. I think you kind of get different crowds, as you know, at different events.
Yeah.
Gerwin Price hardly got booed at Minehead, for example.
Yeah.
So I don't see that carrying on. He'll come out with all his Christmas attire and all that kind of thing. But he's a really interesting kind of case study this year because he has been... how can I say this? He's been excellent at times.
A match play, that's better, right? He's unplayable.
Yeah, the best he's ever been, the best perhaps any of the top three have been this year. But then he's been really flat sometimes.
Agreed.
But he's still somehow found a level of consistency. It doesn't really make sense. But I think that Peter's... he's trying to build up for the World Championship in the same way that Phil Taylor used to do, in the same way that Michael van Gerwen has done since he became the world number one, now three obviously, but I think he's been having an eye on this tournament. I don't think we'll see so much tinkering and things like that. I think he knows exactly what he wants to do at the World Championship.
You said on the tinkering, I think it was a big thing that he went back to the match play dart and didn't differ from it, that he knows that that's the dart that potentially wins him the World Championship for a second time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you asked me, and you may well ask me at the end of the interview who I think is going to win it. But I think between those three, it's so difficult to choose because they're all able to hit such a high level. If Peter finds a match play level, he does win the World Championship for the second time. There's no question about that. One
name on the whole of the darting universe right now. She's done it again. Fallon Sherrock returns, but it's what she did at the Grand Slam of darts. There were so many questions around Fallon. The group stage, it was like, it's only a short format, or she won't cope with the pressure of needing a set scoreline. Then the Peter Wright game, almost a ton average over 29 legs. She's a better player heading towards Alexandra Palace this year than what she was 2 years ago.
Absolutely. I think right now she's definitely the best female player in the world of darts. I think she showed that with her performances at the women's series alone, and then what she's done in a tournament where there were two women players at the Grand Slam, both of them put into groups that they could have got out of. Yep. Fallon did get out of her group. And that thing about pressure, sports people, human beings even, when the pressure's on, when from all angles, they kind of sink or swim. But Fallon Sherrock seems to float, and she's just incredible in those pressure situations. Deals with everything that's going on around her away from the hockey. She just takes it all in her stride, and she just seems actually at her most comfortable when she's on that stage. And she just got this incredible demeanour that I think will serve her well at Ali Pali again.
She's on the verge. We're not quite sure what she needs, but she could win a tour card outright without having to go to Q School. What a feat that would be for Fallon and women's darts to say to everyone else, look, you can do this just through match play alone, and this is what the ladies series can give you.
Yeah, it would be absolutely incredible. I think, the biggest feats so far are Fallon winning at the World Championship, doing it again, of course, what she did at the Grand Slam and getting to the quarterfinals, and Lisa Ashton winning a tour card through Q School, arguably somewhere on a par with those achievements. But if Fallon were able to win one, for any darts player to win a tour card without going to Q School. I think Christoph Ratajski did it, for example.
Joe Mernon did it as well. There's not too many that have done it.
Not many. And most of them have been, able to... Ratajski, for example, was able to enter European Tour qualifiers and get through, do well on the Euro Tour that way. So to just have a big hit in a couple of majors and get a tour card, that would be unthinkable, really. And she would really... Nobody could say the words that often people do say, she doesn't deserve this, because she would.
I'm going to ask you, because it's been on everyone's lips, the Premier League. There's a lot of talk to put Fallon in. First of all, your thoughts. Do you think she will be? And part of that, would you have her in the Premier League?
Yeah, well, when all the talk kind of was going on during the Grand Slam, I was sort of rifling through the rule book to see if I could find this rule about having a tour card.
Dave Allen. We asked Dave in the press room as well, and he got the rule book out and did it.
Something that Barry had said apparently, but it's not documented anywhere. So based on that, I think she will be in. If that's the rule and it's not changed before next year when the new rules are published or whatever amendments are published, I think she will be in, and I think she should be in.
Yeah, no, I agree that darts is a funny sport. It doesn't get the recognition it deserves, but she's arguably, but in my opinion she is, the most famous darts player on the planet right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, the worldwide appeal, nobody else has got it. When she won to get through to the quarterfinals at the Grand Slam, it was on the BBC Sport website in the morning. I was driving into work, it was on the BBC Radio 2. I'm over 35 now, that's why I listen to that. But yeah, the BBC Radio 2 news bulletins, and you don't hear about darts anywhere else. It frustrates me, as sure it does you, because we love the sport and think it should get more recognition. But Fallon is bringing attention around the world to this sport, so of course you should be in things like the World Series, of course you should be in the Premier League.
The World's got an interesting dynamic. There's so many subplots away from who wins it. Tour cards on the line, Q School potentially go on the line for certain players. I know every World Championship is important, but I've never known the hype and the buzz around this one so much. I know it's the first one back from COVID after last year, but there seems such a buzz around Ali Pali this year for many different reasons. Yeah,
and I think one of those reasons is the fact that we don't have that one dominant player going into the tournament as favourite. We've had Phil Taylor for as long as I've been alive at least, and then we had Michael van Gerwen for 7 or 8 years. Now we've got this kind of big three. But some people may question us putting MVG in there. I think that's foolish, but he hasn't won a TV title this year. But we've got 3 players 4 if you want to throw Jonny Clayton in there, that everyone's talking about. So I think the thing about the World Championship this year is nobody can really say with any confidence who's going to win. Nobody has got a clue what's going to happen, and there are other little sort of things going on in there as well. Adrian Lewis and Gary Anderson potentially meeting in round 2, Barney being back. There's just sort of Fallon and obviously Lisa being in the same tournament at the same time for the first time at the Worlds. So just all sorts of subplots as well that make it really, really interesting.
I was going to ask you brought him up, the name up there. Where is Gary Anderson right now? Because he's done nothing on the Pro Tour of note, where normally you could bank him to pick up at least 2 or 3 across the year, but hasn't threatened a Pro Tour this year. If I'm being honest, I think he's been disappointing for his standards in the TV majors. We saw 2 good games at the Grand Slam where he pushed MVG, that they always just flick each other. But then back in Minehead, didn't see him himself. Where is one of the greatest players of all time? Because he's approaching a difficult time of his career. Next year he's defending a King's Ransom.
Yeah.
So where do you think Gary Anderson is right now?
Well, you say the King's Ransom. He is kind of the king of the palace, isn't he, Gary Anderson? If you'd have asked me the question last year, I would have been worried about Gary, and then he goes and makes a final. And I think it's 5 finals since 2011 at Ali Pali for Gary Anderson. So this is one tournament where I don't really worry about Gary Anderson. It's a bit like him always getting through the group at the Grand Slam. But if he does slip up, then it's time to worry, because then he has to do something that he hasn't wanted to do for a long time, which is really put all his focus on playing more and more events, because it's the only way he's going to make up that ranking. If he turns up and reaches a semi or a final again, it's feet up and pick and choose what you want to play in, isn't it, for another year or 2? Yeah.
It's that time. I'm going to ask you, who picks up the Sid Wardell Trophy on the 3rd of January?
So I've given it loads of thoughts, and if I do another 3 or 4 interviews between now and then, I may give different answers. But right now, based on what I've seen over the last few months, I've just got a feeling that Peter Wright has got what it takes to go and defend the prize money from a couple of years ago. I think Peter Wright's working on a different mentality to Van Gerwen and Price at the moment. He's a little bit older, he's got little targets, he wants to be world number 1 before he retires, he wants to win the World Championship multiple times, and I think both Price and Van Gerwen will do that. I think Peter is kind of putting a lot of eggs in this basket, and he has chickens at home, so it's a nice little pun there for you. First one tonight, but I'm going to go for Snakebite.
Last one. If Michael were to win it, after what he's been through the last 2 years, would this arguably be his best World Championship? Because the ones he's won in the past, he's been up there, he's been head and shoulders above the rest of the field, but where he was to where he is now, would this be the best if he can win it? Yeah,
it would be some story, wouldn't it? I mean, there's been part of me. I've been watching, as you said at the start, Van Gerwen on tour all year, playing really, really well and being damn unlucky, really, in not winning many events until he finally won one. Got the TV one, but it was a World Series stage event. But yeah, the stuff, the pressure that's been on his back for a long time, to go through a drought like this, to be a winner and all of a sudden not winning, there's been a naughty little part of him that's been watching the TV events, kind of hoping he doesn't win it so that he can win his first one at the World Championship. If he does that, with the pressure that carries, I think it'll be perhaps the biggest feat that he's ever achieved in darts.
My absolute pleasure talking to you, mate. Darts could do it all day, and I look forward to seeing you for 16 days in the Big Brother house.
Nice one, Phil. Look forward to it.